Hello, welcome to Japanese Craft Beer Reviews. Today something different, something I haven't done before. What we're going to do in this review is look at the old version and new version of the same beer. Recently, in the last year or so, Kyoto Brewing has been reevaluating what they're doing and where they want to go in the future, looking at the market, popularity of different beer styles. They lost their head brewer and hired a new one. So a lot of changes going on, and they decided to shake things up. And they've taken each of their three flagship beers and sort of redone them. And I'm going to look at each of those in turn. The first one we're going to look at is a Belgian Session IPA, and it is the one you see on the screen. It is called 6 Day Weekend, or in Japanese, Shūkyū Muika. And this is kind of a joke. You will see that the 6 is covering over a 2. The standard saying in Japanese is Shūkyū Futsuka, which means shu is week and kyu is rest or relax, and muika is 6, and futsuka would be 2. So instead of a 2-day weekend, a 6-day weekend. And they've made a Belgian Session IPA because you want to probably drink a little bit more on the weekend and have a few more than you would ordinarily, so a session beer. And this beer costs 550 yen, and it, in dollar terms, US dollar terms, $3.68. In euros, €3.40. Now, the original one had 2 hops. They claimed Citra and Equinat. On their website, they also said it had Polaris as well. But what they've done is they ditched the Equinat. They said the Equinat has changed and it's not quite as good anymore, and less of it is being grown. So they kept the Citra and added Waimea from New Zealand and Simcoe hops. So the old beer had Pilsner and Carapils malt, whereas the new one had Pilsner and wheat. The hops Polaris, Citra, and Equinat in the old one, and in this one the hops again Citra, Waimea, and Simcoe. One small difference, they're both 4.5% alcohol by volume, but the old one had 16 international bittering units, the new one 20, so a little bit higher in bittering, not much. All right, so the evaluation we had, where I was together with 3 friends, and all of us know Kyoto Brewing quite well, and we're very familiar with their beers. And what we did, we had these side by side and talked about them. The old one of the features they want is to get longer shelf life for their beers. So the old one had a shelf life of 6 months. And one thing they're doing is they've gotten machinery, equipment to help them reduce the amount of dissolved oxygen in the beer upon canning. So that should allow for a longer shelf life. So the aroma, we found it to be fresh, bright, and citrusy. And the appearance was very light, unfiltered, kind of apple juice color. The flavor, it was rich and tangy with definitely some citrus notes, thin to medium body, and overall pretty rich and pretty tasty. So again, the IBUs were a little bit lower than with the new one, and the alcohol amount was the same. So this beer probably will be going out of off sales pretty soon. I think you can still get it on their website. You can check and see. I will put a link to their website. Okay, and now let's look at the new iteration of 6 Day Weekend, Shūkyū Muika, the Belgian Session IPA. And this is, again, it's similar. It's similar. As we saw, the hops changed a little bit. They've put in Waimea from New Zealand and Simcoe from the US, and the international bittering units are a little bit higher. So the old or the new one we found to have a subdued grassy sort of aroma and perhaps a little bit less citrus than the original version. And the appearance was very pale, kind of hazy champagne color, so it did look a little bit different. The flavor was quite grassy, and it had maybe less fruitiness than the original version. The palate, a touch watery. Of course, it is a session Belgian session IPA, but it did seem, even for that, a little bit watery. It was definitely crisper and drier than the original version as well. And overall, it seemed more like a regular IPA than perhaps a Belgian IPA. The yeast was Belgian ale, I believe, in both of them, but it seemed more like a U.S. session IPA, perhaps. And the flavors were not as rich as in the original one, and I think we all agreed that we liked the new one a little bit less than the old one, even though there's not a lot of difference. The primary difference is in the hops. So, and the wheat in the new version. So I think they took away the carapils wheat and added carapils and added wheat instead. So, but primarily it's pretty much the same beer, but overall it felt a little bit less full, less rich, less full-featured than the original. But keeping in mind it is still a Belgian session IPA. Well, in any case, this is one of the main beers from Kyoto Brewing, 6-day weekend, Belgian session IPA, and you can find this a lot of places. Many places will carry all three of their regular flagship beers, and I hope you try them. So try this beer, let me know what you think. Take care, bye-bye.